He's an animal.
Yeah.
He's just an absolute animal, non-stop, in every way, striking, wrestling, conditioning.
The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout.
He went through 4 fights in the UFC and was only hit twice.
Down came the rain and washed the spider out.
The guy's special. I've been in this game my whole life. I've never seen anything like him. He wants to fight again, so.
Up came the sun and dried up all the rain.
He knocked out a guy who's 185 pounds, a real guy, with one punch.
I'm the wolf, brother. So angry.
I'm Khamzat Chimaev. I'm the killer.
Khamzat Chimaev's meteoric rise through the ranks of MMA is nothing short of remarkable.
Oh my goodness! He's talking to David!
From dominating the regional scene to quickly establishing himself as a fearsome force amongst the best in the world.
I come in for everybody! Kill everybody! Ah!
With brutal finishes over terrified opponents, each victory propelled him closer to the UFC spotlight.
He's an absolute freak of nature.
Where he continued his relentless assault with devastating power, unparalleled wrestling, and an aggressive mentality.
If I kill everybody, what are you gonna do?
Now, as he prepares for his next big challenge, we take a look back at the story so far and dissect exactly what happened to fighters before and after fighting Khamzat Chimaev.
Khamzat Chimaev is a terrifying human being.
After his one and only fight at amateur,
My first amateur fight was in Sweden. It was very fast, 36 seconds, something like that. I punched him, he fell down, and I choke him out.
Khamzat progressed quickly to the pro leagues. He burst onto the scene with a round 2 victory over guard octagon, dropping guard with a hard straight, followed up by his patented heavy ground and pound. His next victim on the regional scene would be Ole Magner, who he took down within seconds of the first round, and before too long, put old Ole to sleep.
My goal is to be the best in the MMA, to be the best in the world, like pound for pound #1.
Impressed with his first 2 fights, promotion Brave FC made the move to snatch up the young prospect. And immediately put him to work against Marco Kisic, who he demolished in the very first round. Kisic then going on to have a mixed bag of wins and losses on the regional scene. Next on the chopping block was Sidney Wheeler, who tapped to strikes less than a minute into his collision with Borz, and then never fought in MMA again. Next would be the first big test of Chimaev's career. 4-time World Kombat Sambo champion and now UFC middleweight contender, Ikram Aliskerov. This performance by Ikram still stands out to this day, with him being one of the few men Khamzat truly struggled to take down. Now forced to stand with Ikram, it would be time to see if Khamzat could hang on his feet with such a formidable striker in Aliskerov. But he proved more than capable of passing the test.
Khamzat,
He is out! It's beautiful! Uppercut!
When he was younger, where he knocked a guy with an uppercut. Did you ever see that video?
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
It's like one of the best uppercut KOs I've ever seen in my life.
However, this wouldn't be the end of the road for Ikram. He worked his way to the UFC, and until his most recent loss to Robert Whittaker, was riding a 7-fight win streak since his loss to Khamzat. Now one of the biggest prospects outside of the UFC, Chimaev was waiting for his UFC call-up any day now. But he would have one more test in Miswandile to get through first. Known for his powerful stand-up, Miswandile's best chance at victory was undoubtedly to keep the fight on the feet. However, this would not be a luxury that Borz would afford him.
He's out! He is out!
From here, the two men's careers would go in opposite directions. While Khonwa won his next 2 fights, he's lost his most recent 3. Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev was on his way to the UFC.
Only had 6 fights, but 6 fights, 5 stoppages in the first round, 1 in the second. So yeah, no wonder the UFC snapped this guy up so soon.
For his first venture into the big leagues, the Wolf was matched up with John Phillips. Phillips was already well known by MMA fans in the UK, having built up a reputation as a heavy-handed slugger with a long resume of putting opponents to sleep.
I hit like a nose. No one's got power like me.
However, since making his way to the UFC, John had struggled against higher-level competition, with a record of 1-3 heading into his bout with Khamzat. And when the cage door shuts, Chimaev shuts down Phillips.
I don't want to sitting here and to be Instagram fighter. Now I'm gonna smash everybody. I want to smash everybody. I love this.
Following this defeat, John took one more fight against Jun Young Park, which he would lose and then retire from professional combat.
Yeah, I want to fight next week. Doesn't matter when.
Is that
today, tomorrow?
Is
one
that
more fight? I'm so hungry. If you have fight, give me fight.
And just a couple weeks later, Khamzat took a short notice fight against another Brit, coming this time in the form of Rhys McKee.
Oh, he's called it. Oh, it's a huge shot. He's dropped him. McKee firing up.
A lengthy striker and former Cage Warriors world champion.
Confused, he's already fought here. For me, it's an opportunity. It's a beautiful opportunity to take his hype train and put onto my real weight.
Going into the fight a heavy favorite, Borz wanted to make a statement and finish the fight quickly, a promise he would very much keep.
That kid, if he fought someone else on Saturday, he would have been the bright, shining prospect going into the fight. But instead, he went in there as a plus 600 underdog against this Chimaev. He's insane.
Rhys was cut from the UFC. He was able to rediscover success upon his return to Cage Warriors, and after 3 victories, made his way back. Unfortunately, once he got back into the big show, he couldn't hold on to his place for long, losing twice before being recut.
Listen, this kid wants to fight every weekend, and he's not joking.
2 wins in 10 days, a UFC record for victory.
Where is the ceiling for you? Where is your limit?
I don't know, brother. I can fight after 1 hour, maybe. give me champion, 84 kilos, 77 kilos. I'm gonna smash both.
Keen to keep his impressive level of activity going, Chimaev took his 3rd UFC fight just over a month after his McKee victory, this time against longtime UFC veteran Gerald Meerschaert.
Keep an eye. Wow! What was your reaction when you got the name Khamzat Chimaev as your next opponent?
I was like, yes, most definitely yes.
Why most definitely yes? I would imagine there are a lot of people who might not say that right now after seeing his first 2 UFC fights.
Because I've tied for the most submissions in the middleweight division in the UFC. Ariel, I am the kryptonite to his Superman, all right?
Seeing as Khamzat had so far had an easy time taking his UFC opponents down, Gerald felt his famously dangerous submission game would match the wrestling of Borz.
In any of his fights that I've seen, he hasn't met real resistance, and I think that's going to be a big test.
I have blue belt. I'm gonna choke you out.
If you choke me out, I'll find a black belt, give it to you. How about that?
If I choke you out, you are finished with this sport.
Dude, I'm coming in. I'm the crafty vet. I'm a tough guy, and I'm going to show him that this time you bit off more than you can chew.
But despite all the pre-fight talk about who was the superior grappler, when the two eventually met in the octagon, Chimaev showed once again that he possessed one-punch knockout power and dusted Gerald just 15 seconds into the first round.
Just like that! Khamzat Chimaev!
You think I'm a wrestler? Wait till you see my hands. Holy.
Were you going in there a little angry, wanting to prove something?
Always angry to smash somebody, knock him out. Like when I look at his eyes, he was like nervous. Like in the cage, when I look at him, he don't want to be there.
Meerschaert continues to have a hit-and-miss time of things to this day, going 6-3 since his crushing loss. However, he's currently riding a 2-fight win streak.
Khamzat Chimaev is still suffering from the effects of COVID.
Chimaev had done an interview and said when he had it, he thought he was going to die. So it was very bad. He's over it.
How are you and how are you feeling?
I'm good now. I'm healthy. I'm doing training here. I think I'm gonna be ready in August to smash somebody.
In unprecedented fashion, Khamzat took yet another fight known for his solid stand-up and gritty resilience. Li the Leech Jingliang was considered by fans to be the toughest test of Chimaev's UFC run so far.
When you look at Li, he's a tough guy, and he would seem to be the toughest guy that you've ever fought.
I hope it will be. I want to go in the war and feel bad in the fights. I want that.
Despite fan affection for the Leech, it would turn out to be not much of a test at all, with Borz yelling at Dana while he carried Li like a child.
I come here for everybody! Kill everybody! Ah!
The Leech won his next fight over veteran Muslim Sakilov, but following his split decision loss to Daniel Rodriguez, he suffered the knockout loss of his career by Carlos Prates.
Khamzat Chimaev, right? For all any doubts that people had, this man's the real deal. And if you're a welterweight, watch your back. I'm telling you, that guy's intimidating, he's scary. I'm retired.
It was undeniable at this point. Chimaev belonged among the upper echelons of the UFC.
The guy's special. I've been in this game my whole life. He's special, he's different. He wants to fight again, so.
He'd amassed 4 victories across 2 divisions, taking just a single significant strike in the process.
Because that guy now has had 4 fights in the UFC, and he's only been hit once. John Phillips, when he'd taken the back and he was about to choke him out, John Phillips was like, yeah, I'm one of them.
Which is unheard of.
If I kill everybody, what are you gonna do?
But just how far would Borz go? We would soon find out. Having previously fought at lightweight, former world jiu-jitsu champion Gilbert Burns had truly found his form upon moving up a weight class to welterweight.
Gilbert Burns, and who's a monster. Gilbert Burns is complete. He is an elite Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, but his striking is world class.
You're one of the few guys that put your hands in the air and said, give me this guy that you guys all say is a killer.
I believe he's very good. I don't see a monster.
Sure. Good. I'm gonna go jump in the cage and smash that guy, you know.
Mr. Burns, you are still the underdog. What's your comment on being the underdog?
Of course he's underdog. King is here. I'm gonna kill that guy.
This would be the first time Khamzat had fought a top 10 UFC opponent, and Burns was a tough test for anyone. Needless to say, his BJJ was some of the very best in UFC history, but this was complemented by his stunning one-punch knockout power and granite chin. Unsurprisingly, this fight soon dissolved into absolute carnage. The fight would be a thrilling back-and-forth war, with Chimaev getting the nod on the judges' scorecards and solidifying his place in the top 10 of the division.
I feel sorry for coach. They work hard with me for many mistakes. Go back, watch me fight, and I always do. I work hard, work more than I did. I need to be everywhere, black belt, striking, throwing, ground from, wrestling, grappling, whatever, everything. I'll fix everything now. Thank you, brother. Thank you for everything. Good fight.
Meanwhile, Burns wasn't done yet, and bounced back with wins over Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal. Yet, recently has fallen short against other rising stars in the welterweight roster, including JDM, Bilal Muhammad, and Sean Brady. For context, it was around here on the UFC timeline that Nate Diaz was trying his best to get out of his contract and fight Jake Paul in a boxing match. The UFC wasn't very appreciative of the negative attention this brought towards the fighter pay, and so they tried to kill off as much of the Diaz army hype as possible, with the last fight on his contract being scheduled against their latest weapon on the block.
Hey Diaz, let's go, brother. Let's go. I'm gonna get some smoke, bro. Let's see who is the real gangster.
However, the MMA gods had other plans for Diaz.
178 and a half.
Chimaev would in fact miss weight and was forced to swap opponents at the last minute. Nate would go on to win his fight against Tony Ferguson, and Khamzat.
Sit down now. You're not about that black kid. You're not about it, kid. You're my. Come on.
Would now be facing Kevin Holland on short notice.
Kevin
After his chaotic slugfest with Burns, some presumed that Holland might have similar success. But Borz returned to his relentless wrestling style, instantly taking down Big Mouth and forcing him to tap out in less than half the round.
Hey, so what now? Say something! I'm the most dangerous guy here. I gotta come in for everyone. It's my home. I gotta take everything from you guys.
Fortunately for Holland, fans mostly forgave this understandable loss on short notice. He'd saved the card from cancellation and continues to have thrilling and sometimes hilarious performances to this day. Through injury, illness, and issues concerning international travel,
Chimaev can't get into the U.S. because he has visa issues.
Chimaev's stellar record of activity began to screech to a grinding halt. In fact, it would be over a year before fans would see one of the biggest prospects compete again. When he eventually did make his way back into the octagon, however, It would be at middleweight against none other than former welterweight champion Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare, Usman.
Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare, Usman.
Everyone says he's wrestling, but my wrestling is different level, so gonna go smash that guy.
Originally, Khamzat was scheduled to fight Paulo Costa. After the UFC insisted he fight at middleweight after missing weight and nearly ruining the previous card. Having recently lost his belt to Leon Edwards, Usman took the fight on just 9 days' notice in an attempt to make his way back into title contention, with a big win over a rising star like Khamzat.
When Leon comes, he shot his head and dropped the guy. I don't think so. I never be the same guy again.
Borz wanted to finally prove his worth against a former world champion.
Since day one, I get to the UFC, everyone spoke about like Khamzat Usman, our wrestling skills and striking, all these things, you know. But his old version, I knew. Like iPhones come out, his iPhone's 5, I'm like, bro, you know.
That's a lesson I guess I have to teach you.
Yeah, you're a good fighter, but not my level, man. I don't think so. You can teach me anything. You're too old for that, man.
And the stage was set. In the end, Chimaev was able to control the fight with his superior wrestling, taking down the former 3-time NCAA Division II All-American in every single round.
I just came off the couch in 9 days and fought a young, hungry bull like that. It's no excuse. You know, he's as advertised. He's big, he's strong. You know, that kid's as advertised. He's tough, and I give him all the props.
Fast forward to the present day, and yet again, the Wolf of Chechnya and Sweden has taken a year off of martial arts competition. Now established in a new division, the world waits with bated breath, not only to see if Chimaev can outmatch one of the greatest middleweights of all time in Robert Whittaker, but if he can even make it to the fight at all.
The kid's unbelievably talented. We need to keep him more active. That's what we need to do.
Once celebrated as the most exciting and active fighter on the whole roster, Khamzat finds himself on the brink of unprecedented circumstances should he not be able to make the walk to the octagon. Could it be an injury holding back the Wolf? Or something more sinister altogether?